Atomic Heart's first DLC has been released, and presents an additional side story that takes place chronologically right after the main game's events. That means that a spoiler-free playthrough is basically impossible, so if you don't want main game spoilers, please click away now and go watch one of my other videos. Today, I will be attempting to answer one of life's most important questions. Can you beat Atomic Heart's Annihilation Instinct DLC with only the Secateur? Let's find out. The DLC starts, as most Atomic Heart stories start, with a long cutscene. This cutscene ends just in time for another one to begin. This latter cutscene transitions pretty seamlessly into the gameplay though, and I'll admit that I was impressed by it. I wandered into a very corporate looking hallway where I found a little treat. A chocolate bar that I'm sure will come in handy later. I entered a modular hotel with pod-based rooms and wandered across the many levitating bridges that connected them until I found my way to the other side of the arena. I'd seen this room in the advertisements for this DLC and was honestly a bit disappointed that it wasn't much more than a walking simulator created to allow some dialogue dumping. On the other side of the hotel pod thing, I found a new weapon. It provided some pretty cool bow staff-like attack patterns that I hopefully won't have to use at all if the Secateur only challenge run goes successfully. I crawled out of a giant hole and appeared topside in a quaint Eastern European village. It was here that I encountered the first of several new enemies in the DLC, the M4D-5, also lovingly referred to as dummies, are experimental security robots designed to patrol the complex in which the DLC is set. Though in their prototype form, these robots are an absolute pain to fight. Luckily for me, as I am only allowed to use the Secateur in this playthrough, and I do not currently have it, I will simply avoid them and run for my life. I stumbled across a metric Scheisse load of the scary fellas, and in a moment of desperation, pulled out my delicious chocolate bar. The chocolate, after a brief charge-up time, absolutely decimated the pathetic robot mannequin rejects, and I was able to keep exploring. I entered a large spherical building via an elevator and met with someone who CelebrityLookalike.com told me was Michael Rosen. He babbled on for a while and sent me on a fetch quest which I begrudgingly accepted. I avoided the M4D-5s along my route and ended up in some sort of lockdown survival sequence. I had hoped that I could simply survive long enough to be let free, but unfortunately it seemed like the game would not let me progress until the enemies inside the lockdown had been killed. This Secateur only run ended before it really even began. I had to use other means to continue. With a very heavy heart, I walloped and whomped the baddies until the lockdown was complete and I could continue about my playthrough challenge. I grabbed the professor's giant ball and I returned it to him. For my efforts, I was presented with the item of my earnest desire, the Secateur, a truly interesting weapon that used both energy and conventional ammo. In my first playthrough of this DLC, I hadn't used it that much, as I had found its energy reserves to be too limited to be useful. Spoiler warning, I was correct. Due to the way that the M4D-5 robots were able to reconstruct themselves after being attacked, I had to use most of my energy reserves to kill even a few of them, and then find an out-of-the-way corner to sit in awkwardly while I waited for my energy storage to recharge. Alternatively, I could use its conventional fire type, but would then be constantly running out of ammo. So began the primary playstyle of this playthrough challenge run that I like to call professional gamer time. The footage that you are now seeing has been significantly sped up. I would then wander into a few more baddies, fire my minuscule amount of energy ammunition, and proceed with more professional gamer time as I went AFK and played Bloons Tower Defense on my phone. This cycle continued as I cleared area after area and made my way to a transparent greenhouse chamber of sorts in which were vibing several spherical enemies whose real name is BEA-D or Bead, but I will be referring to them as Roly-polies for the duration of this video. A lesser gamer would have entered this domular construction to fight the Roly-polies, but as this wasn't my first playthrough, I knew that the doors would seal me in upon entering, and so I patiently waited for my energy meter to refill, and I sniped the Roly-polies one by one. Once inside, I was able to insert one of the specially colored Roly-polies into the designated chute. I made the mistake of entering a new area and was locked therein with many unwelcoming robot companions, and so began a truly painful, roughly 33 minutes of my life, as I had to run in circles while my energy meter slowly recharged, while also being chased down by deadly robots and trying to pick them off one by one. The culmination of my struggles and perseverance was yet another roly-poly that was put into a giant chute, which I could only assume made it all worthwhile. From there, I opened a door that led to an elevator, that led me to another door, that led me to Nora, who had received a new paint job since I had seen her last and was looking rather funky. I dig it. I used her interface to upgrade my one and only weapon as much as I could and to craft some more ammo, and I continued on with my journey. I was presented with some sort of roly-poly mating ritual that I can only hope is consensual. I don't speak roly-poly and have no way of knowing, and I entered a fight. The Secateur's heavy and labored movement, along with its long reload time and lack of charged ammunition, made battles awkward and forced me to have to tank a lot more damage than I would have liked to. But in the end, I inserted another roly-poly into another tube, so I think it was all worth it. The game rewarded me for my efforts by throwing me into an even tighter room with even more enemy varieties and told me to get wrecked, which I did. On my second attempt, I was much more cautious and was successful because of it. Another BEA-D roly-poly and another mail chute. Too easy. I entered Nora and crafted more supplies as I was running a bit low. It is worth noting that I will be permitting myself to use glove abilities if they do not damage enemy robots. For instance, I will not be using my shock ability on enemies, but I will be using my polymeric shield, as I can use it to recharge my energy meter faster, and as much as I love my professional gamer AFK time, if I have to spend more time just sitting in a corner waiting for my meter to recharge, I will be put on a watch list. The next bit of the challenge was routine. I saw a robot, I killed it. Rinse, repeat. The M4D5 dummy stood no chance, and I was simply too powerful, too skilled. I crafted more ammo and made my way to a very suspicious looking button. Being the curious fellow that I am, I gave it a little bump just to see what would happen. What happened was an army of roly-poly monsters joined forces and conjoined themselves to create an abomination that I knew it was not only my patriotic, but also my spiritual duty to eliminate. The game taunted me with the option of dropping explosive chandeliers onto his head, but I'm 1,488% sure that it was a red herring, as the mechanical monster was rarely standing beneath the chandeliers, and I found them to be pretty ineffective even when he was. The demonic construction was multi-phase and a true test of persistence. Finally, after chugging a bottle of wine and using much more of my healing and energy boost items than I felt comfortable using, I was able to vanquish this evil back to the underworld. I took a short break to restock my supplies and catch my breath before I continued on. I made short work of a few more baddies and found another upgrade for the only weapon that I was using. This upgrade claimed to increase my damage output, and if it wasn't glitched or lying, I'm sure it would prove very useful. I locked a black man in solitary confinement and ushered another roly-poly into a tube. 6 down, 2 to go, I think. At this point, I was feeling pretty comfortable with the Secateur. I had a pretty solid understanding of its capabilities and had learned that by crafting energy boosts and trying to pick enemies off at range, I could make up for some of the downsides of this heavy and slow weapon. Anyway, another roly-poly, another chute. I found myself in some sort of puzzle chamber. I was shown some puzzle key that I'm sure would make sense if I wasn't a brainwashed, common sense lacking Russian militant idiot, but it is what it is and I don't really know what I'm looking at. I found an elevator that led me to a roly-poly party that I rudely interrupted. I inserted the 8th ball into the 8th tube, and with that act, completed the prerequisites required to attempt the ball circuitry puzzle. I'm not great with puzzles, so instead of analyzing the pictures and deciphering a smart solution, I decided to brute force my way. I tried every colored ball in every colored hole until I got the right ones in the right places. It took a while, but at this point my brain wasn't really working at full capacity. I'll spare you most of the pain, but this is what peak gaming looks like. Nora really didn't like that I was completing her little ball and hole puzzle thing and tried to zap me away. And that's when the twins randomly showed up to help. And by help, I mean just kind of hang out for a while and fly around in circles. So that's what they did. They flew around in circles while I absentmindedly went back to doing what I do best, sticking balls in holes. I thought that I had done it. I completed the puzzle. But alas, it was not to be so easy. The mega roly-poly multi-boss mech thing from before, well, he was back to finish me off. But if there's one thing I wasn't about to let this hellspawn abomination do, it was finish me off. Our battle was glorious. The combat was intense and the stakes high. I glugged down a thick Soviet snack of sweetened condensed milk to give me the power to fight on. I used energy stimulants, I used health canisters, I dodged and I weaved. The nightmare before me lunged at me. He lasered at me. It sent its composed roly-poly minions to attack me in its stead. No moves were off limits and no battle was as treacherous. But in the end, I was victorious. I used the mechanical monster's corpse to complete the remainder of this circuitry puzzle. And with that, boarded a futuristic aircraft and flew into the sunset. So, can you beat Atomic Heart's Annihilation Instinct DLC with only the Secateur? Yes, but please don't. It requires a lot of standing around and it's much too heavy of a weapon to be very fun to use. Thank you so much for watching, and comment below your idea for my next challenge playthrough. I've done several of these Atomic Heart videos and I love the feedback from Atomic Heart fans. Check out my channel for all sorts of content, some of which you may enjoy, and I'll catch you in the next Leverloo video.